Good morning/afternoon/evening, everyone. We live in a world where we are constantly being told who to be, what to chase, and how to measure success. From the moment we wake up, there's noise everywhere. It's in our pockets, our screens, our conversations. It's loud, persistent, and often persuasive. And the most dangerous thing about it, it sounds like it knows what's best for us. But here's the truth. The world doesn't know you like you do. And yet, far too many of us let that noise drive our decisions, shape our identities, and define our worth. We get caught in cycles of comparison, crushed under the weight of other people's opinions, constantly distracted, constantly pulled away from ourselves. Today is about cutting through that. It's about getting quiet enough to hear your own voice again. It's about building focus, not waiting for it. It's about trading external validation for internal alignment. This isn't about being perfect, loud, or impressive. It's about being intentional. So let's walk through some ideas together, ideas that challenge the pressure to please, to prove, and to perform for others. Ideas that remind you that your direction matters more than their approval, that comparison doesn't bring clarity, that focus isn't found, it's built, and that progress only happens when we learn to block the noise and focus on you. Let's get into it. The loudest voices are rarely the most important ones. The world is loud, and it's getting louder. Social media screams for attention. News headlines are designed to provoke. Everyone has an opinion and no hesitation to share it. In this constant barrage of noise, we often confuse volume with value. Just because someone is shouting doesn't mean they're right. Just because a message is viral doesn't mean it's true. And just because a crowd is moving in one direction doesn't mean it's the right one for you. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone speak confidently and assumed they knew what they were talking about? We're wired to respond to confidence, even when it's empty. That's the danger of noise. It can be persuasive without being meaningful. It can drown out your own inner voice, not because it's wiser, but because it's louder. And if you're not careful, you'll start chasing things you never wanted, trying to impress people you don't even like, moving fast in a direction you were never meant to go. Noise isn't just sound, it's distraction. It's input that demands output. Every comment, every post, every notification is asking something of you: attention, emotion, response. But attention is a limited resource. When you spend it reacting to everything around you, you leave nothing for what's within you. That's the cost of listening to the noise. You lose the signal. You lose clarity. You lose yourself. We live in an age where everyone feels like they need to be heard. But very few are listening, and fewer still are thinking. If you want to rise above the noise, you don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer, clear on who you are, clear on what you want, clear on what matters. That kind of clarity doesn't come from scrolling or watching or echoing what others say. It comes from stepping back, turning down the volume, and tuning into your own frequency. But there's a catch. The noise isn't just outside, it's inside too. It's the self-doubt, the second-guessing, the fear of missing out, the need for validation. We all carry noise with us, like static in the background, and it's persistent. It will disguise itself as caution or logic or humility. It will tell you to wait, to watch, to follow, not lead. The internal noise is often more subtle, but even more dangerous, because it sounds like you. That's why focus isn't just about avoiding distractions. It's about choosing your truth over the volume of the world. It's about deciding what you're not going to respond to, who you're not going to let in. It's about being intentional with your energy, your attention, your voice, and that means accepting that you won't please everyone, that people will misinterpret you, that staying true to yourself will cost you something, but not staying true will cost you everything. Blocking the noise isn't a one-time decision, it's a daily discipline. It's the refusal to let other people's urgency become your anxiety. It's recognizing that trends fade, opinions shift, and applause dies down, but your path is yours to walk. No one else can walk it for you. No one else has your vision, your voice, your potential. The more time you spend trying to fit in with the noise, the less time you spend creating something worth hearing. There's a strength in quiet confidence, in doing the work without announcing it, in knowing who you are without needing to prove it. When you block the noise and focus on you, you don't become selfish, you become solid. You stop looking for permission and start giving yourself direction. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop performing and start becoming. Distraction wears many faces, and most of them look innocent at first. A quick glance at your phone, a short scroll through social media, a casual check-in on someone else's life. These moments don't seem harmful. They don't scream failure or laziness. They present themselves as breaks, as little escapes from the pressure of doing and becoming. But taken together, they form a slow and quiet sabotage. They eat away at your time, your energy, your focus, piece by piece, until you find yourself working harder just to stay in the same place. Progress requires intention. It demands presence, it thrives on clarity and momentum, but distraction hijacks all of these. It pulls you away from deep work. It fragments your attention. It tempts you with the immediate and the shallow when the meaningful often takes time and discomfort. What could have been an hour of creation becomes an hour of consumption. What could have been a breakthrough becomes just another day you don't remember. There's a reason the most successful people in any field protect their time like it's gold. It's because they know the cost of distraction. They know that every yes to something trivial is a no to something essential. They understand that deep work, real, focused, uninterrupted work is rare and therefore powerful. They design their lives not for constant stimulation, but for consistent progress. They create space for stillness. They give themselves room to think deeply, to struggle with the hard problems, to get lost in flow. But here's the hard part. The world doesn't reward stillness. It rewards visibility. It rewards reaction. It rewards people who look busy, even if they're doing nothing that matters. That's why distraction is so seductive. It gives the illusion of engagement. It lets you feel productive without forcing you to be. You answer emails, reply to messages, keep up with every update, but none of it moves you forward. It just keeps you busy, and being busy is not the same as being effective. Distraction is not just external, though. It lives in our minds. It's the loop of doubt that plays in the background. It's the story that says you're not ready yet, that you need more information, more permission, more time. It's the part of you that finds ways to delay the work because the work is uncomfortable. Growth always is. So we trade challenge for ease, and in doing so, we trade progress for repetition. Days blur. Goals fade, and still we scroll. The truth is, most of us don't need more time. We need fewer distractions. We don't need better tools. We need better boundaries. We don't need more motivation. We need more discipline. Because progress isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently with focus, and that requires making hard decisions about what doesn't get your attention. It means saying no more often. It means being okay with missing out on what doesn't matter. You can't be everywhere and expect to get anywhere. You can't chase every shiny thing and still expect to build something solid. You can't give your best to your purpose if you're giving pieces of yourself to every interruption that demands it. So you have to choose depth over distraction, choose the long game over the quick hit, choose the meaningful over the momentary, because every time you resist distraction, you make space for something greater, progress that actually leads somewhere worth going. Comparison is a silent thief. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't kick down the door. It slips in through small cracks. When you're scrolling, when you're watching, when you're listening to what everyone else is doing, achieving, becoming. It pretends to be motivation, but what it really does is pull you out of alignment with yourself. It replaces your internal compass with someone else's map. And before you know it, you're walking a path that doesn't feel right, chasing a version of success that was never yours to begin with. We've been conditioned to compare. From the earliest age, we're measured against peers, grades, sports, popularity, milestones. As adults, it only gets worse: jobs, titles, income, homes, families, appearance. We carry this scoreboard in our heads, constantly checking if we're ahead or falling behind, but no one ever wins the game of comparison because the rules keep changing and the prize isn't real, it's just approval. And even when you get it, it doesn't last. The problem with comparison is it distorts perspective. It makes someone else's highlight reel look like your everyday. You see their finished product and measure it against your work in progress. You see their confidence and assume they've never doubted themselves. You see their success and think they've never struggled. But everyone's fighting battles you don't see. Everyone's carrying weight you can't measure. When you compare, you overlook the cost behind what you admire, and in doing so, you undervalue the worth of your own story. Clarity doesn't come from looking outward, it comes from looking inward. It comes from asking hard questions and sitting with uncomfortable truths. What do I actually want? What matters to me? Not to my peers, not to my followers, not to my family, but to me. Those answers don't come quickly. They're buried under layers of expectation and noise, but you can't uncover them if you're too busy watching what everyone else is doing. Comparison doesn't just steal your joy, it blurs your identity, it makes you second guess your instincts. You start editing yourself to fit someone else's formula. You start adopting goals that sound good but feel hollow. And you begin to lose trust in your own timing. You rush your growth, you panic over progress, you forget that patience isn't weakness, it's wisdom, that mastery isn't measured in likes, it's built in silence, over time, through repetition and depth. You don't need to be ahead of anyone, you just need to be aligned with yourself. That's where peace comes from, that's where real momentum begins. Not when you're winning by someone else's standards, but when you're moving in the direction of your own truth. When you're no longer distracted by the shine of someone else's path, you start to see the value in your own. You start showing up differently, not to impress but to express, not to compete but to create, not to prove but to grow. There's freedom in letting go of comparison, in recognizing that there is no single timeline, no universal definition of success, no one right way to live, love, or lead. Your path is yours. Your pace is yours, and the more you embrace that, the less confused you become, because clarity doesn't come from being like them. It comes from being more of you. Focus isn't something you stumble into. It doesn't arrive fully formed or stay with you just because you want it to. It's not a switch you flip, it's a muscle you train. And like any muscle, it only grows when you work it deliberately, consistently, and often in discomfort. The myth is that some people are just naturally focused. The truth is, they've learned how to protect and direct their attention with discipline, not ease. They've chosen, over and over again, to build focus rather than wait for it to show up. We live in a world engineered for distraction. Everything is designed to grab your attention. The alerts, the ads, the endless scroll. Your attention is not just valuable, it's currency. And companies are fighting for it every second of the day. If you don't deliberately take control of your focus, someone else will. And when that happens, your energy, your time, your life starts serving someone else's agenda instead of your own. Building focus starts with eliminating friction. It starts with designing an environment where your attention can thrive. That doesn't mean isolating yourself completely, but it does mean being intentional. Intentional about what you allow into your space. Intentional about when and how you check your phone. Intentional about who has access to your time and your thoughts. Focus doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in clarity, and clarity isn't found in cluttered minds or scattered routines. But even with the right environment, focus still needs effort. It's a decision you make again and again, especially when it gets hard, especially when boredom sets in or discomfort rises. That's the real test. Anyone can focus when they're inspired, but real progress happens when you focus while uninspired, when you stay with the task, the plan, the process, even when the results aren't immediate, That's the work no one sees. And that's why it matters so much. We romanticize the idea of flow, that perfect state where time disappears and productivity soars, but flow doesn't just happen, it's earned. It's built on layers of practice, routine, and resistance. You only get to flow after you've trained your focus to push through noise, temptation, and fatigue. And that kind of training doesn't look exciting. It's quiet, it's repetitive, but it's also transformative. Because the more you build that capacity, the more you realize just how rare and powerful true focus really is. Focus is not about doing everything, it's about doing what matters most and protecting it from everything else. It's about filtering your energy through a lens of purpose, and when you do that, things change. You stop overcommitting. You stop chasing 10 things and start finishing one. You stop scattering your power and start compounding it. The results may not be instant, but they will be meaningful. There will always be easier paths. There will always be distractions dressed up as opportunities. There will always be noise pulling you in other directions. But building focus means saying no, not just once, but constantly. No to what's convenient, no to what's popular, no to what doesn't serve the bigger vision, and every time you say no, you reinforce your yes. You make your focus stronger. You remind yourself that you're not here to react, you're here to build. Not just results, but resilience. Not just output, but direction. It's easy to want clarity. It's harder to create the space for it. It's easy to want progress. It's harder to shut out the things that keep pulling you sideways. But this is where the edge lies, not in talent, not in tools, but in attention, in how well you can give yourself to something fully, deeply, consistently. And that's not a trait. It's a choice, a habit, a practice. Focus isn't found. It's built one moment at a time. Approval is addictive. It starts small. A compliment here, a like there, a nod of validation when you do something others recognize. But it grows quickly. Before long, you're shaping your choices to fit what will be accepted. You start anticipating reactions, adjusting your voice, trimming your dreams to fit someone else's comfort zone. Approval becomes the lens, and everything you do runs through it. Will they like this? Will they support this? Will this be enough for them to notice? And in that process, something important gets lost: your direction. The reason you started, the path you felt drawn to, the values that mattered before everyone else had an opinion. That quiet internal signal gets drowned out by the noise of external judgment, and slowly your life becomes more about performance than progress, more about applause than alignment. The truth is, not everyone will understand your vision. Not everyone is meant to. And that's okay, because your journey isn't a group project. It's not something to be voted on or validated before it can be real. The more you chase approval, the more you compromise direction. You begin to contort your path just to keep others comfortable. But comfort is not a compass, and popularity is not proof. Direction requires courage. It asks you to move even when you're misunderstood, even when you're doubted, even when you're alone. Because progress isn't always visible from the outside. Sometimes it looks like discipline. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away from what once felt safe because you know there's something better ahead. And often, that better is something only you can see right now. People will always have opinions. They'll project their fears, their limits, their expectations onto your choices. And if you're not grounded, you'll internalize those voices as truth. But someone else's fear doesn't have to become your boundary. Someone else's doubt doesn't have to become your hesitation. You can hear their opinion without making it your roadmap. The goal isn't to offend or rebel for the sake of it. The goal is to stay true, to know what matters to you and why, because when you're clear on that, you stop needing constant reassurance. You stop outsourcing your confidence. You stop chasing applause for things that don't actually fulfill you. You become more resilient, more precise, and most importantly, more honest with yourself and with the world. Approval fades, direction sustains. One makes you dependent, the other makes you free. And the more you anchor yourself in your own values, your own voice, your own version of success, the less you'll be swayed by the crowd, because you'll know that your life doesn't need to make sense to everyone. It only needs to be lived with intention by you.